everyone, this is going to be our first video of the year, and I'm going to summarize an activity that you actually did in class. So we used a motion detector, and we were walking towards it, we were walking away, we walked faster and then slower, and we stopped, and we got all different types of graphs. So I'm just going to kind of summarize what happened here. So when we were walking at a constant rate, we noticed that we got a straight line. When we were walking at a non-constant rate, we actually got two different types of graphs. So I'm going to be more specific on these. So the first one, when we walked faster and faster, it actually shot up like this. And when we went slower and slower, it went like this. So remember that a curve means that we have a non-constant rate, and being a straight line means we have a constant rate. And then the other type of graph is when we're not moving at all. So when we're stopped. And when we're stopped, we get that horizontal line. Okay, the other thing we worried about was the direction. So let me move my graphs up here. So when we were moving towards the motion detector, or for the starting point, we noticed that the graph went down. And when we were walking away, we noticed that the graph went up. And when I say down, I'm talking about from left to right. Left to right, it was going down, and up from left to right, it's going up. So I'm also going to make a little note here that the direction is actually going to affect the graph of these faster and faster and slower and slower. So both of these here, these were both going away from the motion detector, but if we were walking towards the motion detector, what would faster and faster look like? So we know that towards, the graph has to go down, and we want to get faster and faster. So I'm going to go back up here for a second. Notice that it goes from kind of shallow slope to a very steep slope. We want that to happen by going down. So we want something that does something like that. So I'm going to make a curve like that. And if I was going slower and slower, but again, if I'm going towards, it's got to go down, but it's going to go down like this. Notice it starts out steep, and then it gets more shallow. So we've talked about the rate at which we're walking, constant, non-constant, or we're not moving at all, so stopped. We've talked about the direction. Now let's talk about a story. I'm going to involve time in there as well.
Right now, to test to see if you're listening, I want you to draw a snowflake in the bottom right corner.
Okay. So when I tell a story, I like to talk about the time. I like to talk about the direction. And I also like to talk about the rate at which I'm walking. So let's look at this graph as 5 pieces. So I see piece A here. So I'm going to talk about A being this curve. So in my story, let's see, I have my husband here, Mr. Strader, and he is going for a jog. So let's say this was 1, 2, 3. That's 5, that's 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so let's say this was in minutes. So I'd say when he begins at home, okay, he goes for a run away from home, and he gets faster and faster as he goes away. And he goes for about 3 minutes total. So from 0 to 3 minutes total, he's running away at a faster and faster rate. Then, what happens at 3 minutes? We get to this portion right here. So in part B. For about the next 2 minutes, or from 3 to 5 minutes in his journey, he's still running away, right? That graph's still going up. But now he runs at a constant speed. He got up to the speed he wants to go, now he's just going to kind of cruise. Then he probably gets a cramp. You know, he's getting old. So let's say that's part C of the graph. So from 5 to 7 minutes, which is 2 minutes, right? He takes a 2-minute break. So he's stopped. There is no direction when you're stopped. So he works out the cramp, and he's like, you know what? I'm too old for this. I think I need to head home. So notice that this graph starts to go down. So let's say it's part D. So from 7 to 8 minutes, he's running towards home at a constant rate. So once he starts to get closer and closer to home, what happens? It looks like his rate's changing, but he's still going home. For our last portion here, from 8 to 10 minutes, he's still running towards home, but it looks like it's steep, and then he starts to slow down. He's getting really tired. So slower and slower as he approaches home. So hopefully that was a good review of what happened in class.